It's Tuesday, January 26. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. The Jamaican government is negotiating with China, Cuba and India for the procurement of COVID-19 vaccines once they become available. Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, addressed the matter of multiple avenues of obtaining COVID-19 vaccines at a virtual press brief on Monday. The Health and Wellness Minister, Dr. Christopher Tufton, says Cabinet has given approval to obtain safe vaccines from other countries outside the COVAX facility, which was set up by the World Health Organization, the WHO.
I am pleased to announce that meetings have been held with the ambassadors of China, Cuba, and India, respectively. During these meetings, we have expressed Jamaica's interest in obtaining vaccines from those countries once they become available and are safe for our population. These countries are well advanced in the research and clinical trials of their vaccines.
Jamaica is one of 190 countries that have signed on to the COVAX, which was created for the equitable delivery of safe COVID-19 vaccines. The health minister says under the COVAX facility, AstraZeneca vaccines will be made available within the first quarter of this year.
We have been advised that the vaccines that would most immediately be available to us under the COVAX facility will be the AstraZeneca and the AstraZeneca Serum Institute of India. This availability is pending emergency use listing from the World Health Organization. The expectation remains that it will be available for delivery during the first quarter, as we have said, meaning in April.
Despite this, more vaccines are being sourced elsewhere. Dr. Tufton says the government's priority remains the safety of the Jamaican people.
And the government, through the Ministry of Health and Wellness, therefore, we will continue to seek out all avenues to ensure the best health outcome for every citizen.
Head of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros last week expressed concern that some countries, as parties to the COVAX facility, reneged on the agreement and are engaged in bilateral arrangement. He says, however, that those countries should still send in data captured during local distribution, as this is still important to global research on the COVID-19 virus. The Ministry of Health and Wellness says despite a steady increase in COVID-19 cases locally, Jamaica did not experience an anticipated spike in positive cases over the holiday period. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Mackenzie gave a breakdown during a Ministry of Health virtual COVID-19 press brief. Melvin Pennant has that report and an update on the latest clinical management summary.
The Health Ministry's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Jacqueline Mackenzie, says increased public education in November 2020 contributed to the limited number of cases during the holiday season.
We saw a very gentle uptick in the number of cases, that we're still seeing that rise. But when we considered the takeoff point in terms of comparison to July, August, our takeoff point was much less at that time in the summer than what we had in November, and yet we have not yet surpassed the number of cases that we have that we had in the summer spike. So there has been a success that we think in terms of decreasing the number of cases. We certainly don't think that we could have prevented an increase in the number of cases, but certainly the rate of increase, I think that we have made, the effort that we made have really paid off.
Dr. Mackenzie says continued monitoring of homes for the elderly and other vulnerable groups was a key strategy.
We saw what was happening across the world, where the number of cases in the old people's homes would have contributed significantly to their spike. And our aim was to pick up cases early, intervene early, and to prevent hospitalizations of this very vulnerable group where we knew that if we had hospitalizations, it would have resulted in severe illnesses and deaths. So during the month of November and going into December, we visited almost every infirmary, nursing home, and we tested. And where we picked up the 1 or 2 cases that were for the most part asymptomatic, we were able to isolate those persons, manage those cases, and in part of that management was the establishing of the relationships between these homes and the health department, so that even later on in the month, whenever they suspected anything, the health department was informed quickly and was able to go in and intervene.
Over the past 24 hours, Jamaica has recorded 141 new cases of COVID-19 and 1 new virus-related death. According to the latest statistics from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, this brings the total number of confirmed cases in the island to 15,153, also pushing the death toll to 339. The ministry said the new cases consist of 71 males and 70 females. The parish breakdown is as follows: 37 cases in Kingston and St. Andrew, 28 in Manchester, 19 in Clarendon, 16 in St. Catherine, 15 in St. James, 11 in St. Elizabeth, 10 in St. Anne, 2 in Trelawney, and 1 each in Hanover, St. Mary, and Westmoreland. The country also recorded 22 new recoveries, bringing the total recoveries to 11,911. Some 99 persons account for those in hospital, with 23 being moderately ill and 11 critically ill. Melvin Pennant, PBCJ News.
The conversation on the National Identification System continues. The system will be implemented under the National Identification and Registration Act 2020. The system, known as NIDS, aims to provide a unique and secure way of verifying a Jamaican's identity. The public and members of the NIDS Joint Select Committee weighed in questions to the presenters at a recent virtual town hall meeting. Here are some highlights.
So what is the proposed structure of the National Identification Registration Authority? Can you also explain the governance structure for the independent oversight body?
Sure. So Clause 5 would have established the authority, and Clause 6 establishes the Board of Management. And specifically, the organization structure entails a Board of Management which will be responsible for overseeing the general administration of the authority. And in particular, this Board of Management will ensure that the operations of the authority are in conformity with the Data Protection Act and any other laws that relate to the operations of the authority. Additionally, the board will give directions to the Chief Executive Officer of the authority in respect of the management of the authority. The Board of Management will comprise 15 members, 4 of whom will be ex officio members, and the remaining 11 will be appointed by the Governor General on the advice of the Prime Minister after he consults with the Leader of the Opposition. We noted that the Supreme Court was concerned about, among other things, the fact that there was no independent oversight body mandated to conduct an audit of the authority and take action where it found that individuals or the authority itself violated the provisions of the then Act. And so with this new bill, we look, for example, at clauses 27 as well as the 3rd schedule of the bill. You will see that provisions have been made for the establishment of this independent oversight body. So in respect of the transformation of the RGD, and I had indicated a bit earlier that the bill proposes to establish within the authority an office to be called the Office of the Registrar General. And what will happen is that the functions of the Registrar General now will be transferred to that office.
The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic resulted in approximately 55% of manufacturers and exporters experiencing cash flow issues, which affected their credit facility or ability to finance themselves. So says the president of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, the JMEA, Richard Pandoe, during an interview with the JIS. Despite this, he says stakeholders in Jamaica's manufacturing and exporters sector are optimistic that the economy will begin to rebound by September. According to Mr. Pandoe, more than 40% of the JMEA's members believe the economy will start to show recovery by the end of the third quarter of 2021. Additionally, more than 33% have indicated that they will increase spending to boost production. He believes this optimism is spurred by vaccine development, the easing of restrictions, and the signs of recovery of tourism and hospitality. Oil prices have decreased due to fears about decline in supplies. We hear more about the global and local trading markets from Gabriel Thompson in the Business Report.
The Tax Administration Jamaica TAJ is advising the public that effective Monday, January 25, business hours in the parish of Manchester have been adjusted in response to the enhanced COVID-19 measures, revising the parish's nightly curfew time to 7 p.m. The adjustments will be in place from Monday, January 25 and will last for 2 weeks. As a result, the Mandeville and Christiana tax offices will now be open to the public from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Monday through to Friday. The TAJ business office located at 3.5 Caledonia Road will close at 4 p.m. on these days. TAJ says it will continue to enforce health and safety measures in keeping with the government's health and safety guidelines. This means staff in tax offices will continue to work in protective gear. There will be hand sanitization regimens and temperature checks for both staff and customers at all points of entry throughout TAJ's operations, and the mandatory wearing of masks to be allowed entry. The administration is urging Jamaicans to cooperate with the instructions of security personnel and staff to form an orderly line and maintain the recommended physical distance of at least 6 feet. Customers are being reminded that several transactions may be conducted using TAJ's tax portal at www.jamaicatax.gov.jm. These include the filing and payment of business-related taxes and fees, payment of property tax, traffic tickets, motor vehicle certificate of fitness fee, and your driver's license renewal fee. Additionally, payments may be made via TAJ's mobile app. For more information, contact the TAJ Customer Care Center at 888-829-4357 or visit the website at www.jamaicatax.gov.jm. In Monday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index declined by 3,486 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 85 stocks, of which 44 advanced, 30 declined, and 11 traded firm. The Junior Market Index advanced by 13 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica, AMG Packaging and Paper Company, and Berger Paints Jamaica. Stocks declined for 1834 Investments Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited. Trading firm were Dermont Trading Company, Dermont Trading Company Preference Shares, and Epley Limited 8.75% Preference Shares. Wigton Wind Farm Limited Ordinary Shares was the volume leader with 23.3 million units, followed by Dermont Trading Company Limited with 6.8 million units, and Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with 4.4 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Monday, January 25 ended trading at $146.99. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $115.72. The pound sterling traded for $199.33, and the euro ended trading at $180.06. Oil prices ticked up on Tuesday alongside rising European shares and amid reports of a blast in Saudi Arabia trading near 11-month highs. Prices moved up slightly after reports of a blast in the Saudi Arabian capital, although the cause remains unclear. In Europe, gains in financial services and chemical sectors helped stocks rise on Tuesday. Risk assets such as A equities and oil often move in tandem. Brent crude futures rose 43 cents to $56.31 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures gained 43 cents to $53.20 a barrel. And that does it for the Tuesday edition of the Business Report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
In regional news, the Bahamas will remain in a state of emergency for the next 4 months. Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis gave notice in the House of Assembly Monday morning that the government is seeking to extend the state of emergency to May 23. This comes as Prime Minister pleaded with Bahamians not to let their guard down. Jasmine Brown has the details in this report.
Minister making his case for why his administration intends on extending that state of emergency for another 4 months.
That I'm not trying to be hard or difficult. I love them very much, but I love even more my country and the future survival of our country.
As he gave notice about extending the state of emergency to May 23rd, Minnis also lamented the number of funerals in Junkanoo rush outs that are in violation of the emergency order. He said while the country has been doing well in the COVID-19 fight, Bahamians have let their guards down.
One infection within a funeral or parade, be it by Saxon, Raleigh, or anyone else, can set us back to where we came from.
Last week, the government released an amended emergency order allowing an increase in the number of people who can attend a graveside funeral from 10 to 20. However, Bahamas Christian Council President Bishop Delton Fernander said it is insufficient and despicable. Minnis said he recognizes that it may be painful to limit the number of people at a funeral.
I myself experienced this when my brother had passed away during the Dorian pandemic, and though both Dorian storm, Mr. Speaker, hurricane, though both myself and my family were grieving and hurt, we kept that internally because we felt that the country came first and we ourselves had to place my brother on fate for 1 month.
Dr. Minnis insisted that if cases surge again, it could have a devastating impact on the country's #1 industry.
And I only ask that they remain vigilant for at least another month because the vaccines may possibly be here soon. And if we remain vigilant, we will be able to protect our future and our society.
Debate on the resolution to extend the state of emergency is expected to start on Wednesday. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
There is a concern that students in Trinidad and Tobago may have lost a year of learning due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The issue was raised by the island's Minister of Education and President of the Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association. The concern comes as the world celebrated United Nations International Day of Education on Sunday.
Being unable to access classes because they do not have a computer device, nor a smartphone, or they have no access to the internet. This has been the reality for many children since the onset of the COVID-19 virus in 2020. Around the globe today, Sunday, countries marked the United Nations International Day of Education. In Trinidad and Tobago, there is the issue of whether learning is available to all our students.
Today, we recognize the importance of ensuring that every learner is catered for and that the COVID-19 pandemic does not deprive an entire generation of learners from what is innately a human right.
Tutor President Antonio de Freitas also raised the issue.
But there is still a lot more to be done if we are to ensure that we do not have a lost generation, that this term, this year, is not considered a wasted term or wasted year simply because the children were not in the physical space in schools.
In her address, the Education Minister noted that figures show that more than 1/3 of the world's students have not been able to access schooling during the pandemic. Terry Ann Brown-Campbell, TTT News.
Still in Trinidad and Tobago, the High Commissioner of India intends to partner with the island's National Trust to build a monument to Nelson Island to commemorate the thousands of East Indians who passed through the island before being assigned to the plantations. On Friday, the High Commissioner toured the island to better understand the indentureship period. Kimberly D'Souza tells us more.
Between 1845 and 1917, thousands of laborers were brought from India to Trinidad to work on the plantations. They were quarantined on 2 islands, Caledonia Island and Nelson Island, this island, where by 1912 over 1,000 persons could be accommodated. Today we return to Nelson Island, where these indentured laborers first called their home. There's no denying Trinidad and Tobago's rich history, which stems from a variety of ethnicities, particularly the African and Indian races, who brought their culture with them when they were brought to the islands. On Friday, the High Commission of India got a glimpse into the lives of indentured laborers whose roots are buried deep in the country. During his tour of Nelson Island, Ambassador Arun Kumar Sahu toured Marion Hospital, where sick indenturers were treated after their long journey, and saw the bunkers where the soldiers stored their weapons during World War II. Ambassador Sahu said he hopes to develop a partnership between the High Commission of India and the government.
We are actually open to any kind of possibility, whatever is possible to do. And for this island, if government of Trinidad and Tobago has something in mind, I am ready as a High Commissioner to push it forward.
Minister Alison West, who also toured the island in the capacity of Minister of Planning and Development, said discussions have already started between the High Commission of India and the ministry.
The National Trust has already started discussions with the ministry and the Indian High Commission to see what we can do in various areas. They're also looking at working with them in respect of the Magnificent Seven and the other historic buildings around the savannah. So the partnership, I think it's safe to say, has started.
The National Trust intends to partner with other organizations to preserve more of the country's culture.
In sports, an impressive redevelopment plan for the National Stadium is currently underway. Stakeholders are meeting with Minister of Sports Olivia Grange today, Tuesday, January 26, to present a proposal for a safe and full resumption of sporting activities. More from Marlon Samuels.
The progress of the upgrading of the athletic tracks at the National Stadium was inspected by Minister of Sports Olivia Grange. The renovations will see IAAF Class 1 certified sporting facilities for both professional athletes and the local community.
I must applaud first the Minister, the foresight that has been put in place to ensure that the track is kept in a good condition so that our athletes can come and perform on a surface that will allow for them to break records and set lead times or jumps or throws for us to maintain our top 3 position in the world. So we are very happy, and we say to the Minister, thumbs up.
Despite the challenges posed by the coronavirus pandemic, the J3As is pressing ahead with plans to have full resumption of track and field activities. Training sessions for COVID-19 protocol marshals have already started.
We have conducted 3 training sessions for COVID-19 protocol marshals, and we have seen over 550 participants. They have actually even asked for another, and we're going to have a 4th and possibly another 5th training for these critical players or personnel.
First and foremost, we want to ensure that our athletes are safe, that our sports administrators are safe, that our communities are safe, that our people are safe. And so I appreciate and understand the concerns where there is a clamoring for the resumption of sporting activities. But it's better to be safe than sorry, as the saying goes. However, I have engaged Minister Tufton, and we have said to the technical team, expedite those discussions, come up with the solutions, because we want to be able to address the sector. In the meantime, I have been engaging the leadership of the various disciplines. So far, I've spoken to J3As, I've spoken to the Premier League leadership. I'm about to have discussions with boxing.
The competition commissions of the J3As and other stakeholders will put forward a proposal to the Minister of Sports, Olivia Grange, on Tuesday, January 26, on how to safely resume sporting events.
We are confident that the program that we are going to put to them, they will understand under the pandemic situation that this is the best way. It's a win-win situation for all concerned. But we do know of the challenges. I know schools are especially in wanting to get ready for and meet the qualifying standards for championships. But we believe, and Mr. Forbes will give more details on what it is that we have put together.
Jamaica's National Stadium has long been associated with great events and great athletes. The redeveloped stadium will be the perfect stage for local and international athletic competitions now and in the future. We
are working with the IPL team to ensure that certain markings, for instance, the 4x2 is not normally a marking that is put down on a normal track. And so we are working with them to ensure, for instance, that is done. We do 70-meter hurdles, 80-meter hurdles for our juniors, and all of that will be taken into consideration during the remarking of the new surface here at the National Stadium. We believe that the surface and the measurements would meet international standards, and so when the World Athletics technical team comes, we know that we will maintain our current status, our current rating as we had before.
For the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
And that's the news on PBCJ. Thank you so much for watching.